trip over. We're back. Hell of a week out there in West Palm Beach. Did you see Jose Altuve finally got to touch the ball in left field yesterday?
It was spectacular. He had an error, but it wasn't as egregious as this is the thing. He had an error, but partly it was an error that could have been salvaged if Victor Caratini had made a catch.
It was a throwing error if you missed it.
He was running in, caught a ball in the short offside, and then Caratini had an error after that. So it was just a bad play all around by a couple of Astros.
Yeah, so if you missed it, Altuve made his debut in left field. We got a lot of thoughts from the trip that we'll get to during the show here. We'll sprinkle them in throughout. We finally got to see Altuve in left field on Friday. This is the first show we've done since then. And he went 6 innings and, didn't even have to move. He could have stood in the same spot for 6 innings and done nothing.
You got as much work as he did in left field because you were out there the entire time he was out there. You're at the left field fence.
Yeah.
And standing there without a baseball cap on. So, if anything, it was more physically grueling for you.
I was sweating.
In the outfield, yeah.
Well, and a couple times I'm like, oh, he played 4 innings. He's done. So I started to go back up to the press box. And lo and behold, he starts running back out to left field for the 5th inning and then the 6th inning. Now, the 6th inning, it was nice because he exited through the bullpen. I'm like, all right, he's definitely not coming back. Thank you for not teasing me, Jose. But, yeah, he didn't get to touch a ball on Friday, so that made the questions afterwards pretty interesting. Like, I don't know how I did in left field. I'll let you know when I – and then yesterday, throwing error on the first time he touched the ball. Ball goes through Luis Guillorme's legs and rolls out to left field. He scoops it up and throws home to a guy trying to score. And it wasn't the greatest throw. Yeah, maybe Caratini could have saved him if he could have, gotten up the line and blocked it at least, kept it in front of him. But then he made a nice catch in the outfield, Jose did, man, going up against the fence. So, we didn't get a huge taste of him out there, but,
It was at the very beginning of the game, Sean and I were standing out there on the third base foul line fence there. No. And right before the game started, a couple of the umps came out just to be sure Altuve was okay. Yeah. They kind of jokingly said, you all right, man? Maybe they didn't know. Maybe they didn't know that he was playing left field that day. Oh, no, they looked at the lineup. But
before the game started.
It got to be kind of weird for those guys to see Altuve out there for the first time in their career.
What was your favorite thing from the week, baseball-wise, not non-baseball-wise, like baseball-wise?
I think probably it wasn't like a poignant moment or anything, but Paredes and Christian Walker showing their competitive at-bats, all those things about them, that they're both got great judgment at the plate, which is one of the things that Espada is emphasizing this year. I liked seeing them and liked seeing them get on base multiple times. Neither of them, when in the games we were at, showed anything magnificent defensively. Christian Walker is a very good fielder, but he looked like he was still getting the kinks out a little bit. And then I guess the other one would just be John Singleton's body transformation. And because of that, he does look more fluid and athletic at first base.
Yeah.
Hopefully Christian Walker plays 162 games and you never have to see John Singleton at first base. But as a pinch hitter and as a guy that can be the backup, I feel better about him on a very small sample size as a backup first baseman this year than I felt about any of the starting or backup first baseman last year. One of which was a fat John Singleton.
I wish for what Singleton is supposed to provide this year, because otherwise it'd be an amazing story. It's a great story already just because of what it's taken to get him here. If you're in Houston, Jonathan Singleton's story is way more about – it's way more than just a guy who wasn't very good last year and now he's in good shape. It's been a decade-long saga, but I wish the ceiling for him was more than backup pinch hitter first baseman, because then it would be – Then it would be if he were going to get on the field more, it'd be an incredible story,
Yeah, I feel like you're being greedy. Yeah, look, listen. This is what you are. You're being greedy. So I think that just him being a competent batter and a competent first baseman, I think that's like winning the Olympics for him, given where he had been and where we've been at first base for the last couple of years. The fact that if he's a competent backup first baseman, I'm going to be stoked about it. And in a reliable pinch hitter that you can bring as a lefty, yes, I feel good about that. And I also feel like an idiot for not mentioning Cam Smith as my favorite part of
That's what I was
the time
expecting.
we were there. That was 100%. It was 100% Cam Smith.
Yeah, 2 bombs. Dana Brown so far, I mean, it's a week and a half into spring training, but I would say we're like doing winners and losers. I'm feeling pretty good about all three things that came back in the Kyle Tucker trade. Like you pointed it out, Seth, Paredes, good plate discipline, hit a bomb on Friday when we were there. Yep. So that looks good. So far so good on that one. Wisniewski was a little up and down, but I thought more up than down in his outing that we were there for. Seeing him pitch, I don't recall if I wasn't following super closely. Wisniewski.
We saw him. Yeah.
No. Did he pitch this weekend? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to say if he pitched this weekend. He didn't pitch yesterday, but the outing that we saw from him on Tuesday was pretty good. And then, as you point out, Cam Smith, 2 bombs. Cam Smith to me was the big story of the week that we were there. That was really cool to see. And I thought the pitching overall has been good. Like there's some good stories in the bullpen. Like Forrest Whitley's had 2 clean innings, and Taylor Scott looks like he did last year. Spose Van Wy. He had another scoreless inning yesterday. So Spose looking pretty smart. And pitching's always ahead of hitting this time of year, but yeah, like it's things are looking pretty good on the pitching front too. So that was
Blanco's
good.
struggling a little bit.
A little bit.
The biggest thing
Talk
about
me
Blanco,
off the ledge on Blanco right now.
This is where I'm relaxing on Blanco a little bit. For one, just because it's spring training, but 2, he's a really hard worker, and one of the things he's talked about in spring training was backing off a little bit on how much he works out in season to make it through an entire season. Because we saw it last year, he played like an all-star in the first half of the season, and then he struggled a little bit and then got back on track. But he also did a lot less in the offseason than he typically does. He didn't do winter ball where he's played a lot in the past. So I could see where he says his arm feels fresh right now, but he might not be as sharp as he typically
Rusty,
feels.
Yeah,
and he is focusing on throwing more strikes and really attractive. He walked more guys than the rest of his stats were superb last year. He was at one point a 190 batting average against him all year long. It was really good, but he had hit a pretty high walk rate. So I think all of that to say that I think this is a classic. Hey, he's changing his methodology up a little bit, and he's getting the kinks out in spring training.
As long as they're still, like, me, Seth, as long as they're still striking guys out, I'm like, all right, there's especially this time of year, they're probably just. He struck out 4 guys in 2 innings yesterday. So like in February, or I guess we're in March now, early March, if he's 2 innings, if he struck out 4 guys, whatever happened the rest of the time, I just write it off to experimentation. Like, he's working on something. Or as you said, that's a good point. He's probably shaking off rust. I didn't know that he wasn't doing anything this offseason. He was just chilling.
I mean, it's not like he did nothing, but he didn't play winter ball.
Just chilling and being Ronel Blanco, man. He's like, what are you doing this offseason? I'm being Ronel Blanco.
He's pitched way more innings as a starter than he ever has before, so it's a big transition.
Makes sense.